Good morning. Happy 10 a.m. tea with Natalie. I hope that you are doing wonderful. We finally got to Thursday, right? So today I'm checking in to talk to you guys about why diets fail and why it is so difficult for a lot of us to lose weight. Good morning, Michelle. Thanks for checking in today. There's a lot of kind of talk about stress eating and emotional eating. And it's definitely something that I have had to deal with a lot in my life. I've struggled with weight since I was little. And emotional eating is definitely something that has been a problem for me. And so I still have to work on that. That's still something that comes up, when I have a bad day or I'm having to cram or I had to renew my license. So I had to get continuing ed credits done last summer. And I kind of really pushed it to the line as far as getting everything done on time. And so there was some cookies there helping me late at night help to get through all that educational stuff that I had to do. And eating and studying is something that unfortunately I got in the habit of doing, when I was 18 and first in undergrad. So this is something I know an awful lot about, and I know that it's something that affects a lot of people. And so I think that kind of explaining the complications and how sort of dynamic this whole emotional eating issue is will really help you kind of be able to get your feet under yourself. So this is going to be sort of a master class. I'm going to talk today about, what is emotional eating, and then tomorrow we're going to talk about how to deal with it as we head into the weekend. So emotional eating is when we eat when we are not hungry. Okay, we're not physically hungry. Our stomach is not empty. That is not what is driving us to eat. We're eating because we are emotionally hungry. Okay, this can be spiritual lack, being overstressed, being overworked, being lonely, being upset. These are things that are creating a sense of emptiness in our lives, and then we tend to fill that potentially with food. We also eat because we are hungry for more in our lives. So boredom is a reason why people emotionally eat. Depression is another reason there. We also eat because we're hiding from ourselves, from other people, because we're avoiding things that we need to deal with. It's a way for us to kind of create boundaries and distractions so we don't have to deal with the things going on in our lives. So obviously, these types of hungers will not be satisfied by a sandwich because you're not actually hungry for food. You're hungry for something else in your life, something to change, something to be added in. And so this is definitely a really complex sort of picture. So how do you know if you're emotionally eating? Okay. Do you eat more when you're stressed out? Do you eat more when you're having negative emotions? That would be a clue that you might be emotionally eating. Are you eating when you're not hungry? Okay. Do you eat to feel better when you're having a negative emotion? Were you raised in a household where food was a reward? So if you got all of your chores done, then you got to have dessert. Or if you were good, you got to have a cookie or something like that. That can help train our brain into patterns of emotional eating for a purpose that is not to satiate hunger, but a purpose to satisfy our emotional selves. Also, if you have a pattern of eating until you're uncomfortable, uncomfortably full, and then you're having guilty feelings afterwards, that's another big clue that you might be emotionally eating. So how does that present? Sudden, overwhelming, urgent need to feed. Okay, you go from like not really noticing being hungry to raging, starving, feed me. Okay, normal hunger has kind of a gradual increase where you could kind of go from eat, you could not eat, to you're kind of hungry and in the mood, to like you're starving. Emotional hunger goes from 0 to 1,000. If you're having that sort of a pendulum swing, that might be a clue that you could be dealing with some emotional eating there. We typically tend to crave comfort food. And I'm going to go into this a little bit more moving forward as we talk here. But these are things that are greasy, fatty, and sugary. So emotionally eating, you do not tend to crave a carrot stick. You do not tend to crave, an apple. It's usually like fried chicken or give me all the ice cream. And so we're definitely we're tending to crave comfort foods in that area. Mindless eating is something else where you kind of find yourself in the fridge or in the freezer and like suddenly, a whole bunch of the cottage cheese is gone. a good portion of the ice cream is gone, and you weren't even really like consciously going in and being like, I'm going to eat ice cream. All of a sudden you're just finding yourself kind of in feeding mode. Okay, that's an unconscious sort of thing going on. And we tend to eat large quantities when our brain shuts off like that. If you're finding yourself in that place, you might be emotionally eating. Okay. If that craving isn't satisfied, even though you're full, it's not like a stomach physiological craving. That would be an indication of emotionally eating as well. And again, that guilt and shame. When you feel horrible about yourself after you do something like that, eating all that ice cream, eating all those cookies, you're not getting any satisfaction out of that. That is another sign of emotional eating. So how else does this go on here? We'll check our notes. Serotonin. That'll be the next part that we talk about here. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter, which means that it signals between other nerves. It also deals a lot with smooth muscle contraction and the blood vessels in the intestines. Okay, serotonin is the kind of neurotransmitter or hormone, potentially some see it as, that contributes to confidence. So this is your sense of well-being. This is your sense of being able to handle it. This is your happiness and your kind of chutzpah and your passion. And so when we have issues with serotonin, we have issues with our confidence. We have issues with our mood. We have issues with our motivation. We might have issues with anxiety and panic. We might have issues with obsessive compulsive disorder and kind of unusual behavior patterns that you don't see in people who don't have issues with serotonin, okay? And so SSRIs are medications that are commonly prescribed for people with depression and anxiety and things like that. SSRI means selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So basically what it's doing is it's preventing the serotonin from getting recycled back into the system, and it's keeping it on those receptors longer, keeping the brain marinating in that serotonin, okay? Keeping the gut marinating in that serotonin. And so that is kind of the angle that those medications work in. Sugar also affects serotonin, okay? And so this is the component that I think people are missing in regards to emotionally eating. This is like a physiological drive unconsciously. It's not about the stomach being hungry. It's about the system having an imbalance, and this the system needs to be addressed. And this is not something that you can count on your willpower to deal with. Okay, this is not something you should have shame about. This is not something, that should be just like eat a salad and it's fixed. All right, it's a lot more going on in this situation. So when you eat sugar, your pancreas secretes insulin, okay? And so when that happens, the insulin promotes the cells to take in amino acids and glucose. The only amino acid that they don't take in is tryptophan. Interesting, right? Tryptophan is one of the building blocks for serotonin. Okay? So what that means is when you eat sugar, you're creating a potential for serotonin to become produced in the system. So we have this tryptophan that's then being able to bind to all these little sites, and it has no competition because all the other amino acids have been cleared out of the system. So you can get this kind of serotonin impact here that's going to increase those serotonin levels because you're increasing all the ingredients to build it, and then your body will just, okay, we'll build some serotonin with this stuff here while we have some time. When that happens, it's increasing your sense of mood, and it's increasing your sense of well-being, and it's decreasing your sensations of stress. So what we have is this short-term little loop where you're feeling stressed, you're feeling the negative emotion, your brain's like, hey, if we increase serotonin, the negative emotions are going to go away. What's our easiest way to do that? Well, sugar will do that. So the brain will send a craving for sugar, and then you'll feed that. Your insulin will get shot out. The other amino acids and glucose clear out of the bloodstream. This tryptophan is then available, and then you're increasing the serotonin levels in the system, increasing your mood. But this is a very short-acting loop. So you need to keep feeding it with sugar in order to keep your mood being regulated. The problem is we reach a threshold where we're beyond our metabolism's ability to cope, and then all of a sudden the pounds start packing on. And so there's this unconscious drive being regulated by neurotransmitters that's also contributing to this emotional eating picture. It is not simply a lack of willpower. All right. So I really want you guys to keep that in the back of your mind and take that to heart. And so that's where I'm kind of going to leave things for now. So think about, what symptoms of emotional eating are you having? Are you noticing that to be a pattern in your life? Are you having issues? What are your cravings when you're kind of going through your emotional eating? I really, really love candy, like anything with red 40 in it, like licorice, like Swedish fish and cherry sours. That's kind of my little wicked poison. And so I know if I'm starting to crave that kind of stuff, I am in an emotional phase and I need to check my stress. So, what's going on with you? Let me know. And we'll be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m. and I'll tell you guys ways to beat this emotional eating pattern. And if you have interest, we can also potentially talk about some supplements and things that can help support that. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Make sure you drink lots of water. I have mine right here. Don't get dehydrated. It'll ruin everything. All your hard work. So take care, and we'll check in tomorrow at 10 a.m. with Natalie. 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. See you there.